Training camp is here. The rookies have reported, and the vets are soon to be in the building. Now, I won't get to make it to training camp, but I got somebody who is. Sharing the screen with me today, we have Donna Hopkins. She's a co-host of Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus and the Commanders beat reporter right there on the scene. Donna Hopkins, how you doing, ma'am? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Anthony, I'm doing fantastic. We've been here before. When you were playing and I was covering you, and it's all about to get kicked off on Wednesday for this Commanders team. So I'm excited for my probably 30 plus year of covering.
Wow. Wow, it's like you started when you just came just straight out of there. Just was first things first. Before you could walk, you were covering the team.
Definitely. I knew that this was the path I wanted to take early on. So, getting out there with the little booties on.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this. While you're talking about training camps and having so much experience covering them, is there a specific year or a certain training camp that just stands out in your mind that you're like, man, that was memorable. I'm glad to have been a part of that training camp?
It has to be always just like you probably just to start the process. That my first year probably being out there, getting used to covering an NFL team. I think a lot of people don't realize that being from West Virginia, my team was always the Washington Redskins at the time, Washington Commanders. So for me to be able to cover a team that I always rooted for, but then I had to change gears as far as covering them. I think during the Joe Gibbs era, that one time, and then the Super Bowl year when I went to San Diego with the team for the first time for the Super Bowl and they actually won it. I think that's the year that probably stands out for me because the team was hitting on all cylinders, as far as the offensive line, your quarterback, that story that plays into place. So I think it's the beginning, the first year, and then that first Super Bowl year.
Oh, I love it.
But I'm excited. I must say, I'm excited about this year also.
Yeah, there's some good vibes going on. And welcome into Believe in Commanders. If you didn't know you were here, this is where you're at. I'm Anthony Armstrong, the original 1-3, joined by Donna Hopkins, co-host of Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus show. This show is brought to you on the Believe Network, so you can catch all of our articles on SI.com. You can catch us in airports and hotels on the Game Plan and all those various TVs. You may catch us over there. So be ready for the Game Plan on Reach TV this upcoming season with Courtney Fallon. Always love joining them. And also, you talk about Super Bowl odds. If you're feeling froggy, feeling good, go over to betonline.ag. It is your number one source for your sports betting needs this offseason. Baseball just getting past the All-Star game. Basketball's over. And like you said, we're gearing up for football. And you also have UFC, MMA, and casino games, 150 slots and more. You get to slide over there with live odds during the game. You get yourself some blackjack or poker after the game, and you can use our code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a 50% bet credit up to $250 on your first deposit. So bet online. The game starts here, and starting this here, we got Donna Hopkins. Like I said, she is out there at training camp, 30 plus years. She said it was. Let's add a couple of questions for you since we had you here on join us on the show. Now, since you're going to be at training camp, what player are you most excited to see on the field?
Anthony, you got to say Jayden Daniels because everybody is basically wanting to see that new quarterback. And I've already seen him in the trenches of OTAs, but that's not the real deal yet. You got to put the pads on. And when they have those joint practice with the Jets and the Miami Dolphins, that's when you're going to be able to tell what kind of quarterback he is. But from what I see right now of the starting part through the OTAs and the rookie camps and all of that, is that he's got a good head on his shoulders. I mean, I think he's level to the ground and not too high, not too low. And I think that what the coaches are saying about his studying and studying of the game at all phases in the classroom, on the field, and, everything I hear about him player-wise, they love him. So, of course, you want the quarterback to see him. But for me, even more so the quarterback is the offensive line, because that is an area to me that they haven't addressed enough, and that has been a hiccup over the last probably 15 or so years. Haven't got that right since Trent Williams and Chris Samuels was that left tackle, and they haven't secured that. And the rookie that they drafted this year is Brandon Coleman, that they're asking him to do a whole bunch, And
Yeah.
he's basically been a guard and not a tackle. And they're basically saying, we want you to be a tackle. So that's one area that I'm going to pay attention to is that offensive line.
Yeah, I like that offensive line pick. And I'm high on Brandon Coleman, mostly because of his athleticism and the ability to get moving laterally. I've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. The kick slide video that was posted from back in minicamp, the guy is nimble. He's a big dancing bear. So, yeah, pay attention to that, Don. I want to see how those matchups work. And then the rest of the offensive line, you got to think there's nothing but
Yeah.
veteran on the way down from that rookie. So, knowing that Nick Allegretti will be there at the left guard spot, he can lean over and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's help you
Yeah.
out. Tyler Biadasz being able to communicate that. And then in the backfield, Austin Eckler and those backs on third down, they'll be doing some communicating, say, hey, just know you have help with the chip on this side, so you can hang out a little bit inside a little bit more because I'm going to help you when I release out of the backfield. So I think it's going to be a team effort. I really do. I don't think that you're going to put a rookie Brandon Coleman out there against the Micah Parsons one-on-one. I think that's bad coaching.
I don't
Do
think
it.
so.
That's bad coaching, Donna. We've been through bad coaching with this team. We don't want to have to see that again. Couple
Oh,
of the players.
Anthony, hold up.
What's up?
I got to put on the brakes a little bit right there because you threw about the bad coaching over the course of years for this team. And that's where I think that you're going to see the most improvement this year with that offensive line, with some of the other key areas of this team, linebacker play, secondary, and all that, is that they brought key coaches on to be able to jumpstart this team quickly. Joe Witt with that defense, I'm seeing some great things already as far as front. So I think that that's the other thing that people need to pay attention is the coaches that they bought here in order to jumpstart. Dan Quinn talked about today as far as that coaching staff and just the teaching that they're doing with this team. That's where we're going to see the difference is that finally, Anthony, they're going to be learning the right way.
They got to learn the right way. That's what Dan Quinn said in one of his intro press conferences. He's learning how people learn and being able to tailor their message that way to that player. And you've seen the growth that Dan Quinn has gotten out of his players over the past few years. You could expect that same thing here with this current roster of players. Another guy that I'm excited about, though, outside of Brandon Coleman and Jayden Daniels, is Bobby Wagner. I mean, how is it going to feel to have that level of linebacker back on the field at Redskins Park, at Commanders Park, in Ashburn, wearing burgundy and gold, whatever one is right? Like, that's got to feel good. I mean, having shared the field with London Fletcher and knew what he brought to a defense, and knowing what I've called for this team to bring is a leader on defense that will close the door and get everybody on the same page. Bobby Wagner being there has got me excited. I don't know about you, but what do you feel about him?
Oh, he's got me excited, everybody excited across the board because, and you forgot about Frankie Louvu. He's in there too. And Jamin Davis is going to be such a better player, I think, with a Bobby Wagner and Frankie and all of them. And I got a chance to talk during the OTAs to Ken Norton Jr. As far as the linebacker coach. And, just talking to him and what he brings to that group too. You can just already see that we've been talking about the linebacker play that's been poor over the years, and they really need to work on that. Well, finally, with a Bobby Wagner, and everybody said, well, is he still the Bobby Wagner? Oh, he's still better than anything that they had in the past, and he hasn't lost anything. Will he be out on the field all the time? I don't know, because he may not have to with the way they're going to orchestrate that defense, but I'm so excited about what Bobby Wagner is bringing because, hey, Anthony, in OTAs, one of the players was joking coming up, and Bobby Wagner is, head on, do the right thing, whether you're on the field, off the field. And he says, see that young guy? I'm going to have to work with him a little bit as far as teaching him how to be a football player and not play all the time because he is head focused on this team being better. So like you said, a Bobby Wagner and that group that they've got there, you can only see positive things. Another area, Anthony, that I'm going to pay attention to, and we'll have to talk out at another time about, the linebacker position, what I'm seeing when they put on the pads and go at it.
Absolutely. You're looking at that linebacking core that Mike Clay is rated as number 1 in the NFL. Much maligned last season, number 1 in the NFL. There was a podcast with Kevin Sheehan. He had one of the part owners or my partners in the ownership group, Mark Ein, was on his show. He was saying that Dan Quinn was Adam Peters' number one pick all along. Had you heard that?
I didn't hear that, but I'm not surprised because really, when they were talking about general managers and so forth, and we got a chance to really get to talk to him, is that everybody thought that it would be him. With his credentials and all that he's brought to the 49ers in the learning process and across the board, I think he is the right fit for this team too. Young, innovative, and that's what people need. I'm not talking about the old ways and all that, those dinosaurs and so forth, because there's room for everybody. But you've got to have young, innovative minds in there of knowing how to assess talent. And I think that that's been the hiccup for this Commanders team is their player personnel and not getting that right. Because Anthony, it starts there. If you don't have a strong player personnel, then it's going to be trip ups all the time down the line.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good of a chef you are if you don't have the best product that you're getting served. You know what I mean? But Adam
Yeah.
Peters, from what he's done, just from the coaching staff being assembled, the draft, and going back and hearing this after the fact that Dan Quinn was his top pick, I would believe it too. Even though they were starting to roll out the red carpet for the OC in Detroit, Dan Quinn probably ends up being the right selection. I think that going up and down, you see so much head coaching experience. Anthony Lynn, Cliff Kingsbury has done it. Head coach candidates that are in line that probably aren't going to be in Ashburn, but for 1 or 2 seasons. And then you have a lot of people that are in positions to where they really need to, I don't say need to, they're probably willing to learn and more humble and listening to other people's input, right? I mean, I love the fact that I love the fact that you've got a Dan Quinn who can focus more on leading the team and, not have to be all over the place. He has an experienced offensive side with Kingsbury and crew, and they can lean on each other. I mean, you got two head coaches over there. So you should be able to leave the offense alone, let those guys be focused and, like you said, be innovative and draw some new players.
Do their job. Like you said, Adam Peters was, I think, the first choice. And I think Dan Quinn, we were talking about the younger guys as far as giving them opportunities. Like you said, I had question marks about Dan Quinn at first. Tony, my sidekick, said, oh, no, Dan Quinn would be the perfect pick in there. But now that I've been able to be around him and see the process of learning the first time of being the head coach, and, he talked about what he's taken from the first time experience to the second time, and putting it all together, I can see that, okay, he probably was the right coach for them to pick because of all the things that he's saying right now. Because I asked him, going into training camp, how do you see this team right now? Are you pleased? Do you see that they're farther enough along as far as what you want it to be? And he said that they are farther along, but you never stop there, because if you stop there, you never get better. So he's pleased with the progress that he sees and that the players have caught on, but there's no stopping there. So, Anthony, I think that they were a win-win, and the telltale is going to be what Anthony? W's. Nobody cares about the all-star coaching or who we brought in, Adam Peters or Dan Quinn, and the list of coaches, if they don't get wins. But at least you can see that it's going in the right direction. And I'm already seeing the energy out there, and the practice are upbeat. And I was like, what in the world am I seeing now? I'm already excited.
I love it. BetOnline has the Commanders over under on wins this year, 6.5. So if y'all feeling froggy, use that code over there. Join with Donna Hopkins. I saw a graphic that went by. Somebody tagged, I think, JP Finlay and Grant Paulson. And somebody done this for Boston. They had done sports numbers for the city in Boston. And I was like, wow, what would you do for DC? What would you do for DC sports? So I want to know. I voted for myself. Who would you put up there for 13? Do you have another option for 13 for DC area sports?
13 area. Yeah. Well, you know what? I ain't going against you.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
I'm
talking
going
about.
against you.
Put me on there, man. Put me on there. But
Put number 1-3. You see that
yes,
name
indeed.
behind there? Armstrong. Strong.
Hold that in for me. Let me be number 13 when y'all come up with that graphic. But I will know what's happening with number 28. October 20th. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
this, that they are retiring Daryl Green's number 28. It's the game against the Carolina Panthers. It's also alumni weekend. So I may be in the building that week. You gonna be there too, Donna?
Hey, you got to be there. I'll be there all season. Home games, away games. You'll be able to tag me in there to find out all the ins and outs. But that is so huge as far as Daryl Green, number 28, jersey getting retired. That doesn't happen in the NFL. And they may be in other sports, but it doesn't happen in the NFL. And it sure doesn't happen much with the Commanders. But for them to step forward and say, this is a guy that's played all his career with the Commanders, and as far as Super Bowls, Hall of Fame, and all of that, I was so glad to be able to see Daryl's number be retired coming up. That's going to be huge. You know him and so forth. But, that's the type of player that even I think Dan Quinn and all of them was talking about, character players that they want on this team. And when you think about Daryl, character player, both on and off the field, no drama, like in the past people drama, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Daryl Green. What do you have? Tootsie Rolls in his socks?
Dixie Rose.
Yes, indeed. So whenever October 20th rolls up, y'all make sure y'all have some Tootsie Rolls in your sock to commemorate Mr. Daryl Green. Let me ask you this question. We're gonna go kind of get into the other side of the country. Go over there to San Francisco. You talk about this receiver room, and there's Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, and we're wondering just who else could there be? Well, obviously there's Brandon Ayuk. He's requested a trade. San Francisco says, nah, training camp's about to start. You need to just show up and be ready to work. Do you think that Brandon Ayuk will be a Commander by week 1 against Tampa?
It's hard to say because I know that New England, the Patriots have been courting him a little bit as far as wanting him there. And he's displeased because a 5-year player, he wanted to be signed. He wants that money, and everybody wants that big contract. And so they said that he's going to be in camp. But the thing that makes him so great is this is a solid receiver all the way around. Even his teammates talked about he's one of the best receivers with all the tools. And could he help a Commanders team? Absolutely, yes, because I think that they need one more receiver in there with the caliber of receivers they've got already. But he brings a different skill set that could help the Commanders. Now, Adam Peters, being that he has a relationship there and may have a little pull, but my thing, Anthony, what will you have to give up to get a player of his caliber? And this Commanders team is still building this team moving forward. They've got great speed and all that this year, but I think that would he help this team? Absolutely, yes. So I would say don't count it out to say, no, it's not going to happen, because I'm never to the point where I'm saying, no, they're not going to make that happen. But I think that even though you haven't heard them or anything said with the Commanders to say that they're going to think about it or it's been any talk, the Commanders were quiet during training camp. I mean, during the draft, training camp on key players that they may want. And they said nothing. And then you was like, oh, man, how did they pull that one out? Even in their other drafts. So I think that don't count it out, but I'm not for sure if it may happen, being that they have so many steel holes to plug in to not, but they're under the salary cap. So they've got capital to be able to do it. But this is the key thing, Anthony, you know this. Does he fit within what the Commanders are trying to build here? They talked about the character. I'm not questioning his character or anything, but everybody does not fit with a team just because they're great players. So my thing is that's going to be what the Commanders assess is, does he fit with the kind of players that they're trying to build here?
I think that you can, if you look at some of his on-field tape, I know there's a highlight that runs around that they reference the type of receivers Kyle Shanahan requires, is that you have to be able to block. You have to be a willing blocker. And there's one play, he's on the right side and he's chasing the safety and DB all the way around, blocking for Christian McCaffrey. And to know that he has that type of effort on tape,
Mhm.
it means it's something he can replicate. But I think the second part that they have to consider, more than just the receiver's impact, but the impact on number 5. And I'm not
Mhm.
talking Tress Way, so it's not field and punts, but I'm talking Jayden Daniels.
Yes.
When you that's your best friend and is your receiver, like I think that it would help his development. Not saying that he's hurting it right now, but I think that it just gives him another weapon that he trusts and that he
Mhm.
can throw the ball to. I think that Terry McLaurin is a guy that will be willing to share some of that spotlight with the Brandon Ayuk if it results in wins, right? I think that winning is going to cure all. But as the position sits now with just Terry and Jahan at the top, and then after that, yeah, you got a lot of youth, and then you have Jamison Crowder, Olamide Zaccheaus is in there as well. But outside of that, it's kind of a crapshoot as to who's going to be that number 3. So, if you feel like, I think if you feel like you have a certain position solidified, let's say O line looks like it's going to be okay with Coleman and Lucas and whatever
Mhm.
variations you work with, maybe it's worth it to go out and try to go grab that one extra playmaker there. But I agree with you on the fact that there are other holes that I may want to address first. But yeah, I still think you got to make this consideration, even if it ends up being a couple weeks into the season. Does it help to bring in Brandon Ayuk, a player like his caliber?
Yeah, well, stay tuned because, like you said, anything that's going to help number 5 to help his development and help this team, because the thing about, like you said, a guy that chases down from one side to the other and he's willing to block, and we know that that's going to be key with the running game this year as far as the blocking, because we didn't even address the tight end. That's another
Yeah,
question mark right there. Zach
yeah,
Ertz, having him here is going to be key. But the other three, Amani, Rogers, and all of those guys,
yeah. Turner, Cole Turner, and
Turner
John
and
Bates,
John
and
Bates, they haven't stepped up yet. Now, will they step up this year with the new coaching regime? That's to be seen yet. But the tight end position is so key. And Hurts has been hurt before. Not saying
yeah.
that he is, but you know what you got in him, a solid tight end. But the other ones, you got question marks right now of can they get it done. So he would be key as far as a blocking wide receiver.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you're going to see a lot of flexibility in the positions because with what Benson is able to do, moving around a little bit there. So it's going to be fun to see. I'm going to be jealous because you get to see some of the plays and you get to see them break the huddle, and I got to live off of Twitter and whatnot. But that's okay. So y'all keep posting it. Matter of fact, tag me at Rated Armstrong. That way I can see y'all's posts from training camp.
And,
Uh,
and Anthony, even more so, we can't tape 7-on-7, so I can't even share that with you. It's just something I'm going to be able to see.
Yeah, don't get in trouble now.
No,
Whatever is allowed, do that. But if it's
that's
not
it. I
allowed,
told
do
somebody
not
that's the
step on
reason
one.
why I've been here 30 plus years, because I do the right thing.
Yes, indeed. You got to stay within the lines that they're giving you. Let me ask you about this. We've already talked about Bobby Wagner, how he's an impactful player. So take him off of the list. I want to know what free agent acquisition is a person that you really think is going to make the biggest impact for this team.
Wow. I think Austin, as far as the running game, I think Austin Eckler is going to be key with the young running backs that's there, because when you think about a Brian Robinson Jr., Anthony Lynn said he just has to stay healthy because he wasn't in OTAs, he wasn't out there all the time. So I think that Eckler is going to help, because he said that he's been hurt. He's come back from major things, and he produces as far as in his game. So I think that in that running back position, and then you got, Rodriguez in his second year, and they like him a lot. So I'm looking for the running game to really take off, something that they didn't utilize over the last 4 or so years. So I'm looking for Austin basically to rejuvenate that running game to be what it was when you were playing, because it was run the ball first and
Yeah.
then pass the ball. Unlike Gary Clark always said, pass the ball first and then run. But we know that everything is set up to take pressure off of Jayden Daniels. Is you're going to have to be able to run the ball. And I
Yep.
think that that's, to me, is the biggest highlight as far as where I see the impact is what Austin can do for that running back game.
Looking at his stats from the past couple of seasons, last year was a low. He got injured midway through, but the two previous years he was at 911 and 915 yards, 12 and 13 touchdowns. So he makes a lot of impact. Had a little fumbling woes over the past couple seasons, 5-5, and he's lost 9 of those. So 10. He's
You
had
better
10.
hold on to the ball.
Yeah, I said there's been 10 fumbles lost, 7 of them. So you give him that. But when he talks about him personally saying, "Hey, I don't need a whole bunch of touches. Just give
Mm-hmm.
me the right touches." I think the hiring of Brian Johnson from Philly is going to help amplify what the running game could look like in a Cliff Kingsbury offense. Because you think Cliff Kingsbury, you think a little bit more throwing the ball around, getting to a few more people, and attacking short, quick passes that way. So the utilization is going to be interesting. I do like that talk about Austin Eckler. I mentioned the development of a quarterback, protecting him. Hey, that's the wrong Mike. That's the wrong identification. That's Mike over here. That way I can pick up this blitz in DB. So those type of communications with a young left tackle, Austin Eckler comes in big right there. But I'll take mine to the defense. My free agent, you mentioned him earlier, is Frankie Louvu.
Yep.
I think with having his energy and the way that people say he flies around the field, he's going to make an impact. The highlight that you've seen when his game when he was with Carolina, running over and through running backs and linemen to get to the quarterback, he's bringing that to the burgundy and gold. And then to have Bobby Wagner on your side, who's going to get you pointed in the right direction. It could be dangerous. It could really be something exciting. So the running back side and the linebacker side, they're going
Well,
to
he
see a
was
lot of
my
young
list.
talent.
I was trying to go between those two, and he was the one that I would have picked on the defensive side because I already seen his impact in OTAs. Even though they didn't have on pads, you saw the way he gets to that ball and
Yeah.
the quarterback. But the other thing, Anthony, I think that we have to look at is that defensive line. I don't know about as far as the edge rushers yet. I've got some question marks there. Who's going to step up in that area? I know they drafted a guy. Some other guys have to step it up. Uh, there you go.
Armstrong is going to do it. Dorrance Armstrong will do
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah, okay. That young guy's on the upswing coming from Dallas. He's already been familiar with Dan Quinn and his system, Joe Witt and his system as well. So they know what they get from that guy. Even I've got a friend of mine who's with Dallas, also Digazua. He was one of the first people to post when Dorrance got signed, saying, "Man, this dude deserved it. He's worked for it to get that big deal. He's going to hold it down up here." I think you'd be surprised. And the exciting thing for me when I look at the Dan Quinn team is knowing that he doesn't have to have superstars
Nope.
over there. You go way back to the Legion of Boom days where when you had Ken Norton was there and Dan Quinn was the architect. They had their top DB was first round pick Earl Thomas. Everybody else was fifth
Mhm.
round undrafted players. Look in Dallas turning for receivers into DBs that are all pros. So Emmanuel Forbes, you got to think maybe is he going to have a bounce back under this new regime? So there's a lot to be excited for. Even though the moves haven't happened yet, I'm willing to let this coaching staff do their thing and roll the stuff out there because obviously the front office can attract top players and they can select players they're very wise about how they play people. I think they pick 6 or 7 team captains to show up and to be a part of this draft class. So they got the right people in the building. We think that they have the right coaching staff, and all that we need now is the score to be in favor of Washington more times than not, and then we'll have a successful season. As simple
Yeah,
as that.
yeah, I think you hit it on because you can see that they are improved because I was talking to officials that were after NFL officials that were out there on OTAs, and they said that they could tell the difference in this team as far as the talent and the speed and the youth because you think about this team has been overhauled for the most part this year. It's not a lot of new faces, a lot of young, but again, I want people to pay attention. Some of the starters that you think that are starters right now, Dan Quinn is talking about competition, and that's what you want. Nobody is solidified a starting position right now as far as the final roster, the final say, because you may be a starter, the 5, but he said he wants to have the next people be just as strong so you don't have a drop off. So I'm looking forward to the competition at some of these positions because somebody is going to be the diamond in the rough that steps forward and surprises all of us.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna give you one last question. So you talk about diamond in the rough. Give me your rookie, not named Jayden, that is going to make the biggest impact. Don't need to know why. Just who's your biggest rookie to pay attention to?
I think Mike
Saint Still, yeah. That would.
I think that this is a guy that I watch pick up stuff, and he's got that hunger that you don't see much. That I'm going to play wherever they want me to play, and his skill set is so nice. You can just see his development. That is the guy that I think that's going to be able to help that secondary a lot. So that's my guy that I'm looking at.
I like it. I'm going to go back into that linebacker room. Another guy that's going to benefit from the two people ahead of him, really three, is Jordan McGee. Jordan McGee. It may not be a big like defensive impact, but I think just his effort when everybody is about him being in the building, special teams may be his big thing. But I think Jordan McGee may be a guy that flashes for the Commanders.
Hey, I want everybody to know that I'm writing down this because I'm going to pay attention to him, in these early parts of training camp. And I'm going to get back to Anthony to say whether he was right or wrong. And then I'll let you all know.
Yes, please let us know. Hey, Donna, let the folks know where they can get to your content.
Yeah, training camp. We've got a podcast called In the Minute. So on YouTube, that's where we'll be posting a lot of stuff before we start it all in September on Mid-Atlantic Sportsnet. But you can catch everything that we post on the show during the season. It'll be posted on our internet, Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. But for now, during training camp, if you go to In the Minute, you'll be able to catch all the interviews and contents from training camp.
Awesome. Thank you, Donna. I appreciate you tuning in with us.
Always fun.
Yes, indeed. Make sure y'all check out betonline.ag. Use our code BELIEVE to get that 50% welcome bonus. And go to SI.com. Check out all our articles. I'm Anthony Armstrong, the original 1-3. For Donna Hopkins, she's on that side. For Donna Hopkins, we'll catch you guys next time on Believe the Commanders.